Hello everyone, welcome back to the Flange Master Tell channel. I'm Graham, your Flange Master of Tells, and as always I hope you all remember to bring a tell and flange it up. Today we're going to be talking about skill-based matchmaking, and it blew up in Twitter, trending hashtag because of the Call of Duty not Modern Warfare, Black Ops Cold War Alpha. People know skill-based matchmaking, and in Call of Duty more than anywhere else, skill-based matchmaking can be very controversial, more controversial than I ever realized. And before we flange into that full and proper, just got to cover a quick little channel update kind of note. It's been a while since I uploaded any content or done any streams. Medical issues and life and all that. It's been crazy the past few years. I didn't realize how burnt out that all got me. So I really need just to step back, give myself a real proper break. I suck at giving myself breaks and rest. I just not something I'm good at. So I just had to stop, be like, just play video games, take the pressure off, don't worry about it. And I feel so much better now. And I am ready to flange. We are going to flange some good, consistent content that is going to provide a unique value that you won't be able to find anywhere else. For example, this topic. No one's really talked about ELO and how ELO being the foundation for pretty much all skill-based matchmaking slash MMR is just not good and is kind of just, it's all broken because of ELO. No one's really talking about that. That's why we're talking about it here. And that's the kind of content I aim to flange up. So with that, let's flange up to the actual content. We are going to watch some Call of Duty gameplay I captured. And just a side note on that, it's been a while since I played because I got frustrated with the skill-based matchmaking myself and also cheaters. So a little bit rusty. There's going to be some embarrassing moments in my gameplay. Don't make fun of me too much, but if you want to be like, haha, that was a dumbass move. Yeah, dumbass moves are dumbass moves. Just don't be a dick about it. But if you want to giggle about it, go for it. Anyways, that aside, ELO, skill-based matchmaking, all that blew up on Twitter, hashtag, copy pasta, lots of bad takes, lots of just like, just facepalm, head shaking kind of statements. And we'll talk more about that stuff near the end. We're going to start with the core foundation of this content, and that's talking about the core foundation of skill-based matchmaking. And that's the ELO system, which begs the question, of course, what is ELO and how is it breaking skill-based matchmaking? Well, ELO is a system for chess, for rating chess matches, for chess players to be able to, kind of rank themselves and try and flange up more even, better matches and all that. And ELO was adopted officially in chess starting in 1960. There's another organization that adopted it in 1970, I believe. So we're talking about a system that's been in use for like 60 years in various forms. And a system that's been in use so pervasively, like Tinder uses it. It blew up in the news that Tinder uses it to rate people's appearance to create matches. And that caused Tinder to kind of back away from it. But that's just an example of how pervasive it is. It's one of these things where people just like, oh, we'll just keep on doing this thing and not think critically about it and just not really like really consider if it's actually like that good or bad or anything. So people have just been basing all these things off of the ELO system, even though it's actually not that great. And I remember back with Starcraft, like it was like, oh, MMR based on ELO, this is so amazing and all this stuff. And like I kind of bought into all that hype back then. And um yeah, now that I've learned more, it's just like ELO is just not good. It is just not appropriate for video games. It is old. It is based on lots of flawed assumptions, and the original ELO system is very oversimplified. And back in 1960, 1970, 1980, even up to like the 90s, that kind of made sense. It had to be something where, there just wasn't computers, there wasn't smartphones. It's not like you could have like, a chess ranking app and just not worry about it. And people had to do this themselves with calculators and pen and paper and all that shit. So it kind of made sense back then for it to be very simplified because it kind of had to be a useful model and a useful system. But It's not 1960 anymore. It's 2020. We've got smartphones. We can do better. So, yeah, part of the problem with ELO is it's the core where it started from is oversimplified, and there has been various iterations on ELO, but no one, as far as I'm aware, has truly innovated on the core of ELO. There's Microsoft's got this true skill system. Not much is known about it. Like they don't really want to tell us too much about the details of how these systems work, because if they do, there's a possibility people will figure out how to game the system and manipulate it. So it makes sense they don't really want to give us details. So maybe there's been more innovation than I realized, but it's kind of hard to know for sure. Anyways, so what is ELO? How does it work? Etc. Etc. At its fundamental core, ELO takes wins, losses, and draws and uses that to create a rating, which then, when a winner wins a chess match with ELO, the winner takes points from the loser, and how many points are taken from the loser and given to the winner is based on the probability, a very simplified probability calculated of how likely the winner is the two players, it's how likely one player is going to win over another, and that determines the point movement. But the probability is basically based on the difference between the two ratings. So if those how the ratings are determined are flawed, the probability is flawed, and if it's oversimplified, it's just not going to be accurate. So already we're not looking good, because that's, at least for video games, there's just so much more to a video game than wins, losses, and draws. Even chess, there's more factors than wins, losses, and draws, like how quickly a person wins, how quickly a person loses. For video games, there's stuff like kill death ratios, match points, different, what about supporting roles and stuff like that. There's just so many more factors. And I do believe when it comes to video games, some of that is taken into account. And even if it is, however much the ELO core is flawed, will make it hard for any iterations upon ELO to actually be any good if the very core foundation of ELO is inherently flawed. And there's just flawed assumptions in the ELO system, like a player's skill is going to gradually increase over time. Well, that's just not reality. People learn new techniques, learn new skills, learn new concepts, and that will can jump their skill level up by like massive leaps. So all of a sudden, someone who's at that gradual increase all of a sudden jumps up, and that just screws the whole ELO system up, or anything based on ELO just can't really handle it, because in it's never been a factor brought into the system. So it just kind of breaks the system when people don't have a gradual skill increase. Then there's other stuff. So we are going to pause the gameplay capture to just look at a couple graphs as a visual aid here. Sorry, I'm a little bit all over the place with my I can't speak, clicking. So we're not going to get too into any of the math or anything. I'm not a math person. I'm a writer, linguistics more kind of oriented, more chemistry person, which does involve a lot of math, but it's like, I'm not into like calculus or anything. I still should learn more about it. Anyways, not the point. We're not getting into the math. That's the point. So one of the fundamental flaws is ELO assumes this distribution of skill is going to be what they call a quote unquote normal distribution. As you can see, that looks like your standard bell curve. This is examples of a normal distribution here in the graph, standard bell curve. Except the problem is, it's been proven that skill distributions don't look like a normal distribution slash bell curve. I'm not sure if there's like a more common name for what's known as a logistic distribution. So this is going to be maybe a bit of a subtle difference, but what they call the tail, so this is called a heavier tail, where how it like tapers down is just a different shape. So if we back, go back, not sure what happened there. Anyways, let's just get out of full screen here so we can actually go back. I'm not sure why it went to that. Yeah. Anyways, it was supposed to go back one tab, not like 10. Anyways, so you see how the tail just steeply flattens out here. So with the heavier tail, it's more of a gradual flattening out, and that's more what a skill distribution looks like in actual reality. So if ELO is making a very bad assumption here, which has been proven incorrect, that's not really looking very good for ELO. So let's go back to the gameplay capture. And there's some more just bad assumptions and stuff like that. So another one of the big ones with ELO that's just super flawed is they call it the K factor. So in the mathematical equation, it's this constant represented by K, and it's actually just a completely arbitrary number. And in doing some of the failed takes for this video, it came to mind of a better way to do it. So, for example, like, if you have a rating between 2000 and 2500, your K constant, K factor might be 20, or it might be 30, or it might be 50. It kind of depends on whatever they decide, which it's completely arbitrary. There's no any firm, factual, objective, provable basis. But for example, if we say, well, if a player is in the 99th percentile, let's make their K factor 99. Let's have the K factor go from 1 to 99, and what percentile they're in compared to other players, that determines their K factor. That should fix it, the problem with the K factor. I believe, I'm not an expert in this kind of stuff, but that kind of rethinking these things is what's necessary, because stuff like the K factor just not just not it's just not good. So those are kind of the three biggest flaws. We don't want to get too bogged down into too many of the details and stuff here, kind of more of a broad overview kind of deal. Just make sure I'm not missing a note here. Um, oh yeah, never mind. I'm good. Anyways, so that's kind of the three biggest flaws that really make ELO just not that great in general. And just to overview that quick, the flaws are assumes a linear gradual increase in skill, assumes a bell curve instead of a logistic distribution, which is a more gradual flattening out of the curve. And the K factor slash K constant is just a completely arbitrary number when it should be based on something objective and concrete and provable. And all this kind of stuff just makes ELO bad, and that's the problem with skill-based matchmaking is, as far as I'm aware, pretty much all skill-based matchmaking of all kinds is all based on ELO in some way or another. And they base all sorts of things that don't have anything to do with like game matchmaking on ELO. It just ELO's in like all sorts of things, and it's one of these things, I think I've already said it, where it's just kind of like people didn't really question it or critically evaluate it and review it, and they're just like, oh, ELO's awesome. All this math is it's just awesome, and just no one's really like sat down and been like, wait, is it really actually that awesome? And it's you don't have to be a math expert to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is not awesome. This is just not effective and proper and just doesn't even make sense. And again, back in the 1960s, this was a huge improvement over the previous chess matchmaking system. I think it was called the Harkness system or something like that. I'm derping on the name of the dude who invented the system before ELO. Anyways, it's just one of these weird things people do sometimes where we just kind of like latch on to something and we don't really question it too well, and it just kind of like gets into everything, and then like it takes a while for people to be like, wait, no, 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 this is not good. Okay, we need to redo this. Just get rid of ELO, start from scratch, innovate something completely new. As far as more, no one's done that for video games, and that's the problem. So, with ELO, they call it ELO Hell, and it's common in video games. And I'm sure many people are going to be familiar with it when I start explaining it. And it's happened to me in multiple games and has actively discouraged me and demotivated me from playing a variety of games. Happened to me with Starcraft, Dota 2, and just recently with Call of Duty, Modern Warfare. So, ELO Hell is when you enter this realm where you wind up bouncing between like matches where the skill level is way lower than your skill level, and then you bounce between matches that are way higher than your skill level. So either it's way too easy or it's way too hard. You kind of wind up like fluctuating between the two, and it just feels bad. It sucks. It's not good. It's not fun. And I think that's really the issue people are having with skill-based matchmaking is it winds up putting people in either too difficult matches or way too easy matches. And probably a lot of the time, by the sounds of it, it puts people in matches that are way too difficult. And the problem is the whole point of ELO in the first place was to help people find even matches. And if even matches with fair challenges aren't being the end result, the system's broken and it needs to change. And this is where it gets a bit frustrating with all the Twitter commentary that happened is because there's a lot of people, a lot of vocal people being like, "Oh, we're just get rid of SBMM, get rid of skill-based matchmaking, connection-based matchmaking only." It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. If a car breaks down, but it's still serviceable and able to be repaired, do we throw the car away and buy a whole new not even buy a new car. Do we throw the car away and be like, cars suck, I hate cars. My car broke down. I'm never going to drive a car again. I'm only going to ride bicycles. No, no, that's silly. Like that's what people are sounding is like, no, my car broke down and I don't want to repair it. So I'm just going to say cars suck. And no one should drive cars. It's like, no, wait, what? Think about what you're saying here, people. Anyways, probably some people getting real butt detonated and upset with me over some of the things I'm going to be saying now. That's I'm just going to say it how it is as far as I see it. And we don't throw away cars that can be repaired and then go say they suck. We fix the car. And that's what we should be doing with skill-based matchmaking. The concept is sound. The idea is sound. It's necessary. It would be far worse to have no skill-based matchmaking than to have no skill-based matchmaking at all. If we had no skill-based matchmaking, it would be far worse, and games would have a very hard time getting new players in because it'd just be this mixed up, messy. Just I remember back playing stuff like Quake 2 before there's any skill-based matchmaking, and it could be very frustrating at times because you just get like super high level players that would just smash you left, right, and center, and it's not an improvement over broken skill based matchmaking, in my opinion. People can debate that, but anyways, end point is we shouldn't do away with skill based matchmaking. We need to improve it and innovate something new. We need to ditch ELO and innovate a new system that makes sense. Get rid of the inherently flawed assumptions ELO operates on, and just someone needs to innovate a whole new system. I'm not a math person. I'm not the person to do it. I do have a friend who is a math person, and I want to put the idea into his head. He's probably watching this content now. If you are watching this, Nate, hit me up on Steam Messenger. We need to talk about this. I've been slacking on messaging you about it. Anyways, so this needs to be innovated, a new way to do skill-based matchmaking. There's probably going to be some money in it because you could someone can flange that up, be like, hey, I got this way better system. It's going to fix the problems or at least make it a lot better. License it, flange it up, sell it. Everyone adopts it. I mean, ideally speaking. Anyways, there's money in innovating a new system that works better. It is of high value to improve skill-based matchmaking in all games. And this is a problem across all games in gaming because pretty much all gaming matchmaking systems nowadays are based on ELO, and it all comes from Starcraft 2, as far as I'm aware, was the first one to really do it with their MMR system, and then people built upon that, and etc., etc. And now here we are, all skill-based matchmaking is based on ELO in one way or another, as far as I'm aware. If there's something out there that isn't, I would love to know about it. Hit me up in the comments or on Twitter or during a stream or something. If there is some sort of skill-based matchmaking in any video game anywhere that is not based on ELO, please let me know. I really want to learn more about it. And as I believe I've said before, it's very difficult to find specific details on how video game skill-based matchmaking systems work. Because like I said, if they let us know too much about it, we can start gaming the system and manipulating it, and then that's just no good for anyone. There's already enough problems with stuff like smurfing and boofing, Oh, boosting. That's a really good misspeak there. Anyways, boofing is a different problem that we're not talking about in any of my videos and I might joke about on stream. Anyways, um, the main point is we need to do something different. We need to figure out something new, and what's going on is definitely broken. But getting rid of skill-based matchmaking is not a good idea. And so this is where I'm probably going to piss a lot of people off and get a lot of butt detonated feedback in the comments and stuff. Hey, and if you're butt detonated, let me know in the comments. I'm curious to see what people have to say. If like I'm actually getting to people and they're like, oh, actually, wait, no, I was kind of just like letting other people think to me by copy pasting that tweet, etc., etc. So even if you're mad at me, let me know. Just don't get too crazy because like if you're just throwing insults at me and it's not like at least something somewhat productive, that's the different story. Like, at least be respectful if you're going to be butt detonated. Be like, hey, I think you're wrong. I think you're a silly tell, but you should get what I mean. Anyways, so the issue I'm having with a lot of the commentaries, people are like, oh, this pretty much comes down to it sounds like a lot of people are saying, oh, I want to be able to smash noobs. I think that's fun. And that makes me go, what happened to get good? Isn't get good this big thing gamers are supposed to be all about, where we're supposed to be like, oh, get good at the game. If you're smashing noobs, you're not going to get good at the game. Think about it. You don't get good at the game by smashing noobs. It makes you feel better at the game. It gives you a false perception of being good at the game. And I think that's the problem, is it makes people feel like they're better at the game than they are. And it creates this inherently toxic false perception thing where people are like, oh, I'm so good at the game, I'm smashing all the noobs. You're not good at a game if you're smashing noobs. You're good at a game if you're constantly improving and challenging yourself and defeating players who used to be players you couldn't defeat. Being good at the game means being in the top percentiles, not smashing noobs. People that smash noobs are not in the top percentiles. People that are good at the game challenge themselves and play against people at higher skill levels than themselves. But there's it's one of those more nuanced things where there's limits to it, because if you get too high above your skill level, it's hard to learn anything and get better, because it's hard to even see what you're doing wrong, because you just like I've experienced it recently. You just like turn a corner, bam, turn a corner, bam. And it's just like, there's just things you haven't learned about the game to understand how to avoid the mistakes you're making, and then it's really hard to learn the mistakes you're even making if you're just getting relentlessly smashed. And then it's just really discouraging and not fun. And that's the problem too, is if noobs are getting smashed all the time, it's going to discourage new players from getting into the game. And you think people would want people to join in on their game and have higher player counts and all that stuff. But it's something I ran into. I don't want to get too into. Is I think there are. Oh, I got murdered hard there. Ouch. Oh, I remember that one. That felt bad. Anyways, um, I think there are people that do have this kind of like elitist thing where they're like they don't want people to join in the game as new players. They want it to be this like elitist niche thing. And I'm not saying that's you. I'm just saying there is a small percentage of players out there that do have that kind of weird hang up. And so yeah, it's the commentary on Twitter is not something I was very impressed with. There's very few rational, well-reasoned Twitter posts and stuff like that that I was very impressed by. There were some, but not a lot. And there's way too much copy pasta of that one tweet and people being like, but I want to smash noobs. And I think I've said pretty much enough on that. If you want to smash noobs, you might want to check yourself just a little bit, because yeah. Although one more thing before we wrap this up is there was a commentary where people are like, I don't want to have too many quote unquote sweaty matches. And that's like really intense matches where you really got to be on point and on the ball. So something I do got to throw in before I end that I did intend to mention sooner is there does need to be, at least in Call of Duty, many other games have this, is a casual and ranked mode. And it's kind of odd that it's missing from Call of Duty. You think it would be there. It's kind of like it's an important thing because sometimes you don't want to have like really intense, sweaty matches and you want to be having more just relaxed matches. But that doesn't mean stomp noobs. That means, it's not ranked. So there's not that pressure there. So you just feel more relaxed about it. And pretty much all casual matchmaking has skill-based matchmaking. It's just not ranked and it doesn't affect your ranking score, which you don't really get to see in Call of Duty as far as I'm aware. There might be somewheres, but I'm kind of more of a casual Call of Duty player anyways. And anyways, the point I'm getting at is there does need to be casual and ranked modes for all games with skill-based matchmaking and all that kind of stuff because that is valid where people are like, yo, I don't want to have that sweaty intensity all the time. Sometimes I want to just be like chill and relaxed and not be stressed out about like my ranking and stuff. Totally get that, totally respect that. That's totally reasonable. But that doesn't mean stomp noobs. That means not being ranked. And that is a flaw in how Call of Duty is doing things. And there definitely needs to be an addition of ranked versus casual in Call of Duty specifically. Outside of that, most games already have casual and ranked. And it is, like I already said, it's kind of odd Call of Duty doesn't have casual and ranked. Anyways, so just to sum it up, ELO's broken based on really flawed fundamental assumptions and an oversimplified system that made sense in the 1960s but doesn't make sense 60 years later in 2020 when we've got freaking smartphones where we can build apps that can do all the complicated math so we don't have to worry about it. And it's not skill-based matchmaking that is inherently problematic. What is inherently problematic is the ELO system and the flaws of the ELO system that have carried over into all iterations of skill-based matchmaking that are all based on the ELO system, which ELO is inherently broken in the context of video games, at least in modern times. So the rational, more reasonable thing I'd love to be seeing from people is more statements like an ELO-based system is inherently flawed and breaks skill-based matchmaking. We need to ditch ELO and innovate a new system. I think that's a more reasonable and logical position to take, but a lot of people don't know about ELO and the flaws and all this stuff. Like it's not been in the conversations. So if it's not in the conversations, people just don't know better. And then they're like kind of searching for an answer or something. And then they kind of just latch on to, oh, let's just get rid of skill-based matchmaking because it's broken. So I do get it, even though it's yeah. Anyways, it is time to wrap this up. I don't want to run up past my hard time limit on flange time content. So, as always, flange up that subscribe button down there. Here, let's go on to the regular flange. There we go. Anyways, flange up that subscribe button with the notifications down there. We got the regular Twitch stream, changing up the schedule a little bit. So it'll be Tuesday and Thursday will be just standard flat gaming. Wednesdays will be VR gaming. Going to do Mario 64 for regular gaming this until I beat Mario 64. I've actually never truly played Mario 64. Like, I played it with like friends and stuff back in the day, but like I've not played it enough to really like say I played it. Like I don't really know the game. I kind of like know maybe like the first couple levels a little bit, but I don't really know it that well because it's just like playing with friends and didn't really get that far or anything. So I've never truly played Mario 64. I don't know much about the game and just I had a 64 when I was a kid, but I don't know. It's weird. We just never got the game for some reason. I can't even say why. We just kind of never did, and we were always big into Mario. I don't understand how we missed out on Mario 64. Anyways, we got I guess that's my warning on time. The video just ended. So I finally today got the Mario All Stars collection. Going flange up the Mario 64 on that starting tomorrow. I've got a doctor's appointment on Wednesday, so that might kind of screw up the Wednesday stream time. I'm going to be doing Super Hot VR. I was screwing around the other day and got like super into it. I got a bit stuck and had some like play space issues where I was punching over the cable stand. Got that all sorted out. Won't be punching anything I shouldn't be punching. Playing Super Hot now, and it's going to be a fun time on Wednesday for sure, and definitely some good flanging on Tuesday and Thursdays. Very excited for that. I hope you are too. Flange up your commentary in the comments. Let me know what you think. I'm all about the debate, as I've come to imitate from Hogue Law. Rational minds can debate and differ and disagree as long as we're all being rational and respectful and cool about it. So please flange that up in the comments. If you want to have a more uh, interactive debate, the live streams are the perfect place for that. You can also hit me up on Twitter and the social media. That's down in the description. And as always, flange it up. Remember to bring a towel and have a good one. I'll see you next time. One day I'll get better at the outro. I always say that.